previously on the Orchid Chronicles. I have worked hard for the well-being of this company, and you don't appreciate it. You're fired. Lyme disease. I think somebody added too much colchicine to my tissue culture. I've got to get to those protocorms. There's no nectar for me, I'm languishing. Alright guys, so just a couple of things. In case y'all are wondering, we had a brief passing thunderstorm. I'm a little bit sick today, but whatever. We've had a few frosts. It's fall. We have some of my cold hardy things still outside doing very well. Looks like there are some buds appearing on this guy. This is Dendrobium nobile, and then the Dendrobium kingianum is also starting to get some bud activity. If you take a look, some of the buds that might become kekis are swelling. Some of the growths here are starting to get buds. That might actually become a flower bud. I don't really know. That's actually really cool looking. I've never seen a bud split like that. You can see some activity starting to appear from the middles of the leaves. Maybe this plant will finally decide to flower this year. I think last year I overpotted it, which is why it didn't flower. I'll keep it outside for a few more weeks. Same with the cymbidiums. I'll keep them outside. Doesn't really look like they're trying to flower at all. But the cymbidium that I broke a piece from earlier this year seems to be doing fairly well. I'm trying to keep these guys outside for as long as possible. The dendrobium on my orchid tree, the flower stalk didn't make it, but that's okay. It happened. Let's see. I went to Shaw's yesterday, and I picked up, where did I put it? Some Pollinia from the Oncidium Alliance things, the intergenerics and other things they had growing there. I put them in the test tube, the microcentrifuge tube here, and I was keeping it in the fridge. This orchid here is a Wilsonaria, which is an intergeneric between the different Oncidium Alliance species. You can see the flower stalk forming on that. Damn, it looks nice. Oh yeah. So I'm hoping that I can pollinate this with the Shaw's pollen. There were a couple of really pretty orange Oncidium Alliance flowers that I took several pollinia from. I also took pollinia from something that kind of looks like a Miltonia. This plant here is, oh good, it's finally getting a new stem here. This is a BLRA. It's Tropic Tom Purple Paisley. I got this from Logies, which is a really cool place in Connecticut. I'm originally from Connecticut. I don't know if I told people this yet. But the pseudobulbs have kind of been shriveled, and I'm like, oh no, the plant doesn't look too hot, and some of its leaves yellowed and fell off, but it's putting out new growth right there, as you can see. Same with this dude, even though its roots have mold on them, I still have to find my freaking, what's it called? Fungicide to get rid of that. Very nice seed pod. That'll be ready for harvesting in a couple of months. But I'm glad that this guy is putting out some new growth. The Miltonia looked very similar to the flowers from this particular plant. I don't think it was the same thing because this is unique to Logies, and I was at Shaw's. They probably just had a Miltonia, but the problem with some of these grocery store orchids is they don't really label them very well. I think part of it's they expect somebody's going to bring it home, think the flowers are pretty, and then when the plant stops flowering, they're going to neglect it, and it's going to die, and they're not going to really give a crap what kind of orchid it actually was. And so they don't really label them. But if I brought it home and I'm like, hey, I know how to take care of an orchid and I want it besides, you know, just flowering, then I'm not going to really know what it is. I can just guess, okay, it's probably part of the dendrobium group or the Oncidium Alliance or the Cattleya Alliance. And the problem with the Oncidium and Cattleya Alliances is that they have so many different intergeneric man-made hybrids now. And some people would say, oh, well, that means they're still in the same species. Some people would say this is just, you know, an exception to the hybridization rule, whatever. Dendrobiums, I love dendrobiums. All right, let me show you guys my latest and greatest thing that I really wanted to focus on today. My cold boxes. By the way, I do a lot of animal rearing. In case people haven't known. Where is my... Oh, that's one of my pickerel frogs. That's Pickle. And then I have Rick and Morty in the other cage. They're smaller. Rick is the really skinny one, and then Morty's the slightly fatter one. They're Shia, my chubby painted frog. Whoops, I just knocked something over. Anyway, so I have animals here. One of the things I'm doing is breeding firebelly toads, and some of the orchids that I have will need to be kept cold, but not freezing cold New England winter, everything dies cold. So, I made these cold boxes. So basically, it is about 68 or 69 in this room. Outside right now, it's about 50-something. In the winter here, we can get temperatures down in the single digits. And I want some of my things to be cold, you know, upper 40s, but not anything lower than that. So, I have opened up my window, stuffed these two boxes, which I've burned holes in the back of, and then I've insulated here. This is all insulated so the cold air isn't coming into my room. It's only entering these, and it's not entering at an extremely high rate. So if I open this, it's a little chillier in here, but it's still warm outside. Oh, these Haploa really. I'll get into what all this stuff is. You can see one of my firebelly toads. Is that my largest male? Yeah, he is. That's Tippy. He gets his name because when I first got him, he didn't swim straight, but now he's gotten a lot better. I think that's Beth right there. So I have the coconut core there, so if they want to burrow when this gets really cold, they can. Today is an exceptionally warm day, but we've had several frosts, as I've said. It didn't get that cold today, but the majority of this box is in my room, so that will prevent the temperature inside of here from getting too cold, but it will be cooler than the ambient temperature here. It'll be warmer than the temperature out there. And the first night I set these up, I don't have the lid for this, by the way. This used to be the tank for one of my axolotls. Now that I've moved, they are in smaller setups, but whatever. This used to be an axolotl tank. Now I've set it up to be a cold box. And I might put some of the orchids into this one. You know, like the dendrobiums, maybe the cymbidiums, although the cymbidiums don't seem to care about the temperature as much as they care about the photoperiod. The dendrobiums, you sometimes want to cool down to induce them to flower, but the cymbidiums will be okay either way. And I don't know if I'll put the cymbidiums in here. I might not. But this is basically the same thing. It's a slightly larger box, and it has aluminum because I didn't have the lid for it. And then I have this. And that's basically what I've been up to. I will probably feed these toads tomorrow or the day after because they're in chilly conditions, but it's not cold enough to suppress the metabolism too much. And so what I usually do when I hibernate the toads is I'll pull them out if it's too cold in here every few days just to make sure they can hop about, get a little bit of light, get a little bit of food if they need it. But I'm certainly not paying as close attention to them now as I would if they were in their tank. And obviously this is going to be redone for a breeding setup before I put them back in there, but I have several months to do that. Well, 11 weeks, really. So that's basically my updates. Feel free to comment any questions, any requests for materials. Maybe next time I will show the how the tissue culture stuff is going along. In a nutshell, there hasn't been contamination. There hasn't really been anything to report. The Phalaenopsis protocorms are starting to get a green color to them, but they seem to have paused again. What I notice with them is they'll reach some like developmental stage, and then they'll stop for a little bit, and then they'll start up again. They've been on the media for just over a month now. It can take 3 or 4 months before you have visible change. It really just depends. I know the first time I did the Phalaenopsis tissue culture, I had, within a few months, sizable protocorms that were almost the size of, oh, I don't know. I can't really think of anything that I can describe the size. Maybe a few millimeters in width. So not tiny, well, yeah, not tiny, but not big, but big enough to replate, and they died during the replating process. That's, you know, live and learn. It's just Phalaenopsis. No offense to Phalaenopsis lovers. But anyway, the things I have now are taking their own time. I'm sure that because, you know, these are different plants I'm working with, different crosses, different times of year that I'm doing all this at, there will be differences in how quickly things germinate and how quickly the protocorms progress through the different stages, which is probably why I'm not seeing as quick of growth. Maybe the first time around it was exceptionally fast, and, you know, I'm not trying to say, oh, I should see this rate because it was the first thing I did. Well, yeah, if I play something up for the first time and I have a limited number, and when I do it that way, there's a certain growth rate, you expect that. Actually, I think, so I plated up the first Phalaenopsis before I totaled my car, and then, which was, well, I totaled my car at the beginning of June, so I think, like, the end of last semester, I plated up the first seed pod of well, no, it was like the end of April. I don't remember. It was the last week of April, first week of May, and then in July, I was replating. So I think we're right on schedule. I'm just going to keep an eye on the tissue culture. You have to be really patient with this stuff. I'm not a patient person, but I have 10 million other things to do with my time, so it kind of distracts me from the agonizing wait for the tissue culture things to go and do their thing. So that's about it.